In this part of the Sculpto video introduction, we are going to talk about changing filament. We will be doing this all the time when printing, and there are two places that it can basically go wrong. One is if your filament doesn't come through here at an angle where the filament gear can catch it, and the other is when it passes through the bowing cable and hits the next part down here. If you've ever had your bowing cable out and tried to push filament into there, you might have had it not go through the nozzle because there's like a ridge in here that you can hit with the filament. That can also happen when you feed the filament normally. To avoid that, you can cut your filament at an angle. Now I've just gotten this out of the printer, and this is not uncommon that there is like a tail on it, and if you see like a little bulb on it at the end, that too is normal. What you want to do is simply cut it. If you want to be sure that it feeds, simply cut it at a bit of an angle, and that should feed just fine. If that is still an issue, cut it as an arrow. So you cut it a little on one side, and then precision cutting through a lens here, and then a little bit on the other side. Go. That way it is actually pointy and it should go through no issue. You will get to know your printer. My Pro 2 is a little more occasionally acts up and needs me to cut it both ways. My Sculpto Plus, I can cut it straight over. It does not care. The important thing when you change your filament is that you have to make sure it comes out. And that basically means watching for down here. There has to come out filament. If it doesn't, retry. That's just, if it doesn't come out here, don't expect the print to work. Normally when you change filament, you will see the filament coming to about here on the bowing cable, or perhaps here, and then slowing down and then slowly being pushed in. And when it retracts for changing filament, it will move very slowly for a little bit and then speed up. Okay, so when you change your filament, the app, we have an old phone that's basically dedicated to our 3D printer, and this is right now on my Sculpto Plus. And when I change the filament on this, the first thing it does is ask for the colors, and you don't have to press the colors while it is showing on the printer. You just have to do it in the right order. Now, because this is a Sculpto Plus, I am being asked what type of filament I want to put in it. I'm not actually going to be printing anything, so it doesn't really matter. But it's the one I currently use for my leftover old filament, but I can choose either. If I choose this one, I will get let's do that one. This one, it just starts, this one. When I press continue here, it asks me what type, whether it's regular glitter, whether it's silk or neon, or it's matte. I have matte white, and I have a lot of regular and glitter. So this one is glitter. Let's put that one in it. So we press continue, and yes, mine is on Celsius. Well, at least I put it over on an English UI so that you can actually understand what it's saying. So I have this broken thing that needs to come out first. It starts pulling back when it's about 170 degrees Celsius. So let's wait for that. In the meantime, I can talk about changing filament while you print, because you can do that. You can pause your print. This is an excellent example of it. This is back from, now of course you can probably tell here, this was the center. I didn't have my Y calibration down. And if you look closely at this, you can see I have a raft I didn't quite get off because the calibration, the set calibration was also a bit off, so the top of the raft wasn't perfect. There are a lot of things that went wrong with this. What didn't go wrong was all my color changes. So I used neutral filament for the bottom. This is old filament, I should point that out, so you might not be able to get these colors today. And then I just paused the print. I changed the color. I kept pausing and printing and pausing and printing. And there we go. Now you might be able to see it. Ooh! And this one has started. There we go. And this one actually seems to have that thing on the end I was talking about. See? This is quite normal for it to look like this. And I imagine for the people experiencing some sort of beading happening on the Sculpto Pro 2 with the new filament, that it might be something similar. You can see this has a very different shape. Let's see if I can... That's very difficult to get it to focus on. But you can see it's like melted and then pulled away. This is one of the reasons why it pulls back slowly first. Yeah. So let me just get the other filament. Just put this up here for a minute. That way I have my hands free, because I might want that. So I'm pretty sure this is the end of my filament, because it's all the way unraveled. And so when it reaches 190 degrees Celsius, you are ready to continue. So I press continue. And this is the part where, well, I've had these printers for so long that I keep one hand here, and then I press eat filament. And then I just keep pressing. See, my printer tilts a little bit because I know I need to sometimes be aggressive. And then it feeds. And you just see how far it gets here. I was very fast. And then at some point, hopefully, it'll reach down there. It is, if you see over here, you have the filament gear, it's still turning. See, my nice little line is going around and round and round it goes. At this point, nothing's come out yet, but the display has already changed. I'm not even sure it's gotten nearly down to the end yet, but it'll get there, I'm sure. If you're changing filament mid-print, you will also want to make sure that filament actually comes out. Huh, well, you look at that. Nothing happened. I did hear a slight clicking sound from over here, so maybe I've hit something on the inside. Let's just try that again. I still want to change into my glitter. So it reverses little by little. It does around about 3 rounds backwards, as far as I remember last I counted. And then it speeds up. This is actually perfect for demonstrating, because if you had your filament go through, yeah, and this is not usually my tricky one, but if you see this come back out and it's not melted at all, then you might want to try cutting it at a different angle. Yeah, actually my attempt at cross-cutting was very, very poor, so I'm gonna park you guys up here, and I'm just gonna do a nice angle. See if that's better. So down and go. Let's see if it works this time. Just goes to show, just because you're doing a video does not mean that it behaves nicely. And it's just about reaching the end. And then it makes a few more rotations before I'm expecting anything to come out. And again, the app has just changed. And we have the clicking sound. I'm just feeling the filament over here, whether or not I feel like it's still moving. And it feels like it's still moving. And it was just a single clicking sound. See, I don't like this. It might be okay, but I don't have anything coming out, and I really don't like that. So, well, usually I will have something cute, and I will press Start Next Print. Because this way I use the fact that the machine is already hot. But I don't have anything cued. Oh, are we seeing that move? Yes, that is moving. Yeah, sometimes patience pays out. The filament gear is not moving, but there is... You saw in the previous video how brittle this blue filament was. And I suppose that could have hardened a little. I'm not entirely sure how brittle filament is supposed to be behaving. If you see things like this, like the filament is moving without the filament gears, it's usually because there is a surplus of pressure inside of the Bowden cable. This usually only happens if there's some kind of clog near the nozzle, if there's something going on there. Seeing as filament has actually been pushed out, I'm just gonna try it again. I know this is gonna be a long video, I'm so sorry. But hey, just set it to push it back again. When this happens for me, and it does occasionally, of course, right now I have like 28.4 degrees, which is very, very warm. I will feel the filament, I will feel how rich it is, and if it is very rich, then I will simply cut a piece off, like perhaps this much. And that means that when it comes to pushing the filament the rest of the way through, it will have a better grip than an area that it's already been trying to grind a little bit. But you see now that I have a bit of melt happening here. It's not like a lot, but a little. So I'm gonna cut this again and try it again. Again, parking you guys up here. Snip. Continue and eat. Third time's a charm, maybe. Yeah. So, like, this was what I cut off. And you can see it's like frayed on the edges. I have no idea whether that has to do with it being glitter, or whether that's just like the situation going on in my nozzle. So still waiting for things to happen. And there came the buttons. And the filament gear is still moving. So hopefully we will see some nice red glitter filament come out. Yay! We have a bit of blue and then the red. Yes. So I would be okay with starting a print now. You can see with the issues I was having before that if I just started the print, even without a raft, you would still get a brim. A brim is when you just get like an edge around the print. Perhaps that could have been enough, but there would also be a risk that I would need to redo the print. Now, when you're fast at pushing in the filament, when you change it, you will have, you know, quite a string coming out. And I know this, and I know that I am fast at pushing the filament in. So if I don't get something out, I know something is wrong. And this is why you need to see this come out, because otherwise you are simply not ready for printing. The string will look a little longer on a Pro 2 because the nozzle is smaller, so basically the sausage coming out is thinner and therefore longer. So as you said, usually I will have something cued. If I'm at this point and I haven't cued anything yet, I will go to my computer, I will cue something up. But I didn't today, so I'm just gonna press done. But now, fresh filament. I mentioned this before. There are people experiencing that the new type of filament, it can harden down the nozzle, but I will be making a video on print settings in just a moment, and that involves starting a print, so I'll be using it in just a moment. Yeah, as I said, you can also change filament mid-print. If you do, you pause your print, and then you will have a button here to cancel and continue the print, in which case, when you start hearing, there's a sound change, and at that point you can press the start button. But, you know, make sure something comes out first. You might have a little tail that comes out that gets caught on your print, so you might just want to, you know, be ready with a tweezer or something to take that off, or be prepared to take that off in post-processing. Because you can pause a print pretty much whenever. There used to be like a 10% limit that you had to be 10% through the print before you could pause it. But I don't think there is anymore. So you can pretty much pause a print when you feel like it, change the filament, and then just resume. This is what I've done with this one. I started off with some yellow, then I used the end of my glass blue, and then some more yellow. I think that was the end of the yellow, and then I had some melon. It's apparently called that. I don't do a whole lot of multicolored prints. The exception would perhaps be these condition trackers for Dungeons and Dragons, where it simply makes them pop. For these, I looked for it not printing the circle anymore, and then simply change the filament there, and it's sort of to make it easier to read. This is perhaps the most useful case I've had for changing filament. Verifier I had a bit of fun with because of the description of it. But you can do it for all sorts of things. I mean, instead of painting these on top, I could have just changed the filament for the top layer. Of course, that requires you to be at the printer. You can't tell it to stop after a certain time. It doesn't work like that. You have to be there in order to pause the print and then change the filament. Yeah. So that's also how you get multicolored prints.